What your customers aren't telling you. Welcome to Talking Experience Analytics with a decent beer in a shed. And this is one of Track from Manchester's incredible Gold Top Lactose IPA series. That is milky goodness. Now, there is an uncomfortable truth we're going to have to face here in this 6 minutes, which is that the traditional metrics you've been relying on are not measuring the customer experience. Customer feedback derived tools like NPS, CSAT, and all of those kind of tools are giving you a fragmentary, tiny moment along the total journey. But it's disconnected. It's not an objective map of a customer's journey through your business. It is a whole bunch of little vignettes, little series of individual different people, highly emotionally, highly subjectively, and through the lens of their own relationship to you, the world, the brand, the occasion, all of those things, giving you a tiny, disconnected opinion on a fraction of their experience. And the mistake we make is to attempt to knit those together and believe that it tells us about the entire experience in a way that we can improve and manage that experience. It's just not true. That's not what's happening. And there's some great examples around that. I mean, we know about the frailty of memory, for example. Humans, our memory fades 2.63 seconds after we've experienced something. It's already unreliable. Our memory is context sensitive. The context in which we recall a memory changes what we think was true. People will admit to awful crimes they get accused of, even when there is no possible way they could have done it. It's something that police forces around the world are now aware of, is that it's very easy to lead an innocent person to incriminate themselves, which is not what you want to achieve as a detective. You want to actually get to the truth. But that should tell you that us as retailers relying on fallible human memory is crazy. And that's why experience analytics exists. Because experience analytics is the only methodology that is able, in the moment, to understand the entirety of the experience you're delivering day in, day out for your customers, especially in physical stores. And physical stores are still where the dollar magic happens. And what's really interesting about this is, and I'll come back to the subject of why we shouldn't be relying on customer feedback metrics in a minute, but the very positive thing about improving experience is the impact it has on revenue. And the thing about this impact is the impact our customers have discovered and validated this as well, incidentally, which is not just our opinion. The impact is a great store can be improved with an even better experience. A store that's doing great business in a challenging market but maybe isn't delivering the best customer experience can still make more money as that experience improves. And a store that's just not delivering to the right standard, when that experience is tackled using a tool like Experience Analytics, the revenue gain is dramatic. So it doesn't matter whether it's a brilliant store in a fantastic market already near the top of their game, or a store that's having tough times and isn't delivering at the bottom, and all combinations in between. Essentially what I'm saying is that customer experience is a universal driver of gain in retail, gain in revenue and in market share. And how does it produce that gain? Well, we know from myriad experience, dozens, countless case studies, that what happens is a great customer experience helps those people who are already shopping with you to decide to put more things in their basket each time. It helps those customers also to choose those small step-ups that increase margin as well as average basket sizes. It also persuades your existing customers to bring more of their overall spend to you more of the time, and that has a dramatic impact on our financial performance. Over longer term, it also persuades more customers to, or more people to try you as customers for the first time. That's a long-term lag effect. And actually, it's powerful, but you can very rarely justify an investment based on those two things. But the immediacy of bigger baskets, higher proportion of that customer's overall grocery spend or whatever sector you're in, now that you can build case studies, build arguments around for the finance director immediately and do great things around. So your customers are not telling you the full experience story. They're just giving you a little fragmented, highly subjective, massively emotional, personally afflicted and affected, biased fragment of it. And you cannot knit those together from different human beings to try and understand what the reality is. So you have to instead find a tool that on the one hand is able to disconnect the emotion and using maths understand and quantify every single part of that experience. And fundamentally, that's what experience analytics does. And then once you have that math basis, then you can overlay the emotional and the crazy and the wonderful and the beautiful range of humanity that brings us all together and pushes us all apart and makes us tribes and drives any different customer in your store to be this person or that profile or that segment. If you have the math underlying the experience, you can overlay as many of those lenses as you want and understand exactly which bits of those experience are driving that person to want to put more in their basket, to want to spend more with you more often, and ultimately to attract that kind of customer more of the time over a period, over the longer term. So going back to customer feedback derived metrics as a challenge, the problem is really simple. That they're not they're not objective, they're not empirical, they're disjointed, they aren't start to finish a picture of the reality of that experience. There are all sorts of other challenges too. I mean, peak end memory effect is another thing that we ought to talk about, which is where typically a human will remember the peak of an experience and the last thing. It's why, for example, if you talk to somebody who's been to Disney World about their experience, ask them about the queues and the food. And they'll tell you, oh, the food was rotten and overpriced and the queues, we queued for hours. And then ask them, how was your experience? All magical. And they remember it as magical because they remember the fireworks and the parade at the end and how it felt when the kids were chattering in the car and everybody was warm and fuzzy and happy, and the memories of the bad stuff start to dissolve. Well, Disney World and Disneyland haven't got a Walmart and an Aldi and a Kroger right next door to them pulling customers away, but you have. So you can't rely on peak end memory effect giving you any possible useful information about the experience you're delivering. So your customers aren't telling you about experience because they can't. The only tool that can is the one that we built. Experience analytics gives you parking lot to exit truth, reality. The stuff that tells you how store number 1 and store number 2000 are showing up for customers for real. And reality, that is our friend in this game.